Hey guys, I'm back. I wanted to give you some commentary on why I think Cataclysm is way better than you remember, and why I think honestly it might be the best expansion since WoW Classic came back in 2019. But before we get into it, I'd appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel and thumbsing up the video. I do appreciate the support. Now, this is 100% my opinion, so if you agree or disagree, that's fine. Just let me know in the comments. I try to respond to all of you, and I love you guys, voicing your opinion in my channel. It means a lot. So I want to say with overall, I feel like the gaming community for World of Warcraft has changed drastically since 2019 and the start of the classic, remasters. It definitely has more of a convenience vibe recently where people are looking to clear effectively, efficiently, and then either play a whole different game or honestly just log off. Obviously the age range for WoW players has changed and people have other real life things to do or family to attend to. Now, I haven't really looked at any statistics or hard analytic data, but I would assume that WoW doesn't do a very good job of attracting younger, newer players, which is honestly a decent idea for a video down the road. Basically, where I'm getting at with this is that Cataclysm will by far have the most activities and things to do for the average player, which consists of the majority of the Warcraft population, which doesn't seem true because on YouTube you see a lot of min-max stuff, but honestly, the average player consists of the majority of the population in World of Warcraft and always has. Now for me, I was a younger player who didn't really understand the game to the full extent yet, and I just didn't like Cataclysm because it didn't really seem like anybody else did. I was just kind of a sheep. I didn't know any better, and I didn't really enjoy them changing the old world. I think Cataclysm was the first expansion that had some really major changes at the time when it first came out, and I think a lot of people just weren't ready for that, and that's just their main reason to why they didn't like it. Now I'm going to start and give you some reasons to why I think this time around it's going to be one of the best expansions yet. And I want to start with collection items and just collection in general. You have your mounts, you have your achievements, you have transmogs. And if you thought transmogs were back then were a hot commodity, wait until now where everyone is trying to flex their weapons or gear sets, as I'm literally sitting here with my T3 and my Thunder Fury on. But to dig even deeper than that, let's think of Wrath of the Lich King right now, where the majority of the players are raid logging and possibly leveling an alt. There really isn't much going on while people are waiting for phase 3. And one could argue that there really isn't much to do during phase 3 there other than raid log. As I've said in multiple videos now though, Wrath of the Lich King could be in some serious trouble as far as population with things coming up in other Blizzard related games. You have WoW Classic hardcore servers coming, Diablo 4, and Dragonflight is actually a decent expansion. Right now, if you look through comments, you look through LFG channel, you look anywhere, the main problem that people have with Wrath right now is not that there's really nothing to do, it's that nobody's really doing the older content. And this is why Cataclysm alone is going to be a good option. This is where Cataclysm will get the approval by the average player. There will be tons and tons of people doing old content weekly just for transmogs. And that's a monthly job trying to get your whole gear set that you want to just flex an Orgrimmar. And you know what that means though, is that there will be more dungeons being ran, more older raids being ran, meaning more people will also be playing alts and doing a lot of the old content to simply just grab gear or get weapons or items that will last them through the leveling process if they don't have heirlooms. To dig even deeper than that, can you imagine the GDKP scene? It's going to dominate Cataclysm as people will pay top dollar for a cool looking item or an item that they can carry through some levels. Overall, the old content is going to be consistently ran in Cataclysm, whether it's transmog gearing or people just running old raids. And that's a beautiful thing for the game. Nobody could be mad at that. And even the occasional GDKP hater will have a hard time finding ways not to like GDKPs. It's going to keep the server alive and a lot of people are going to be running them. Like it or not, transmog alone will keep life into your server and make people more social, which is good for the game and what World of Warcraft is really all about. I want to talk about alts a little bit more as well. The first thing that comes to mind is that a lot of the classes felt meaningful at level 10. You would get a cool spell or talent that instantly made your leveling journey more enjoyable. Let's not forget that your class trainers didn't rob you of gold either. If you remember, the abilities in your spellbook would rank up as you go. Granted, most of you will have money from your other tunes like me, but this is a great thing for new players. Not to mention Cata is the expansion where they introduce multiple classes to multiple other races. For example, if you want, you can be an orc mage. I will say that the leveling experience, for me at least in Cataclysm, was pretty boring. The mobs were really weak compared to you at low levels, and if you had heirlooms, you have no problem pulling 10, 15, 20 mobs at a time. While some people want a challenge during their leveling journey, including me, this is honestly another good thing for new players to learn their class. In theory, if you have more people learning their class, you're going to have an easier time with pugs and finding people that know their class. I feel like that's a big gripe with Wrath of the Lich King right now too, as well. People are getting boosted, they're buying boosts, they're just hopping into these heroic pluses and things. They don't really know their class. It's really helping or hurting the pug scene, I would say. Excuse me. The nice thing about Cataclysm though is that there's plenty of ways to level. You can do your normal questing ways, spamming Dungeon Finder. If you guys remember, Dungeon Finder comes out in Cataclysm. Or honestly, you can level strictly through PvP, which is extremely viable and honestly probably the best way to level if you're into the PvP scene. You're going to start seeing more difficulty later in the game. Personally, I like to think that the dungeons in Cataclysm are much tougher than the ones that we've seen in the past since 2019. And I do think they're actually very challenging. Now, the end game I'm not going to touch much into because I don't remember doing much of it, so I'm not going to put an opinion on that. In Cataclysm, another reason though is all professions have major benefits. There really isn't one shoe that fits all profession like engineering and Wrath. Each profession had major bonuses for your toon. While engineering still had cool enchantments and tinkers that you can do, you can make a fair case for doing just about any of the professions. This also helps the server health in general because there'll be a lot more people able to craft the things that you want and need towards progression or whatever you need the enchants for. Not to mention archaeology gets introduced, and it's a profession where you can learn it with your other two major professions like first aid or cooking. It's honestly a really fun profession that can give you raid equivalent gear, cosmetics, and other achievements. Again, I just wanted to give you guys some quick reasons as to why I think Cataclysm overall will be a great expansion coming up, mainly because it just fits the vibe of how people play World of Warcraft right now. I'll see you guys another time. Thank you.